Sometimes real heroes live in the hearts of small kids fighting big battles. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Uncle Marv podcast. I am your host, Uncle Marv. Many of you know me as Marvin Bee, and I have been around for a while, whether it was junior high, high school, college, tech stuff, whatever. This is a show where we just have conversations and chats with friends, family, and almost famous people, and we are going to do just that tonight. I have with me someone that you remember from a show a little while back, Elise Roth Tedeschi. Elise, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Looking a little dark there tonight in the background.
I forgot to turn on the light.
That's okay. That's all right. Looks good for the camera. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
All right. And we have a new friend joining us this evening, Amy Sabian. Amy, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. And I always have to say that, or else people will be like, what's wrong?
I know.
So for those of you
greeting.
What was that? It's no longer a greeting? Yeah, that's true.
It's no longer a greeting.
For those of you joining us for the first time, I mentioned the Uncle Marv podcast. If you at any time ever want to go back and see what this is really about, you can go to unclemarv.com and you can find all of the previous episodes that I have done. There are links there to both the audio and video of other shows. And I've been doing this just over a year now. It is a supplement to a podcast that I do for the tech community. But this one was just basically a personal thing for me to kind of get in touch with family and friends that I just simply lost touch with a long time ago. And we're getting back in touch with all of them. Elise, as you know, is a friend from high school. And she doesn't remember that we sang in 10 tones together.
You did not.
I think we did.
I looked at our yearbook.
I think you just don't remember me.
You were kind of hard to forget.
Yeah, well. And Amy actually is a friend of not even a friend. So I must be friends with your husband on the Facebook somehow. Amy has about 50 friends in common with me in the tech world. And she is, well, let me say, how should I say this? So her husband is a representative of a competitive company of one of my tech tools. And I'll have to get him on the other show, and that way everything will be all nice, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I put up the picture in the beginning and read the quote there. And this actually is the picture for your group on Facebook, Amy, correct?
It is. It is the group that I started is called Childhood Cancer Advocates. So I noticed that there's a lot of Facebook groups for support, like tons and tons for support. And when my son was diagnosed with leukemia in June of 2019, there was just a huge number of groups. You could ask, like, my kid's in this part of treatment and they gave him this medication and like they had this reaction. What happened to you? And there's all these comments. But when you get out of that initial trauma of like that first year and you want to do something about cancer itself, like you want to raise awareness, or you want to lobby a little bit, or you want to look at research studies, what's coming down like research wise, I was having a hard time finding a central location for it. So I didn't want another support group. I wanted something more advocate based. So I started Childhood Cancer Advocates, and I think I'm up to like 1,300 people are on that, and it's only been a couple months. And then additionally, I was appointed to a board of a nonprofit called Prep for Gold, which stands for Prevention, Research, Education, and Programs. And that's just got up and running. So that is online as well. So I'm really trying to like give back to the community, because most people are just trying to make it through today, if we're being completely honest, and they're children and they can't advocate for themselves at all. So everyone is in 100% crisis mode. So those of us that are able to like bail and paddle, I guess, for sure. Like, I'm trying to empower us to be able to do that. I'm a 20-year social worker. So I work at the VA now, and I work with paralyzed veterans. And after my son was diagnosed, my husband was like, okay, when are you going to do something about this? Like, you're a social worker. You've been doing it for everybody else for 20 years. Like, when are you going to do it for your kid? So there's a lack of funding for childhood cancer. There's no initiative for big pharma to invest in childhood cancer because there's so few recipients. So like my son's type of leukemia, there's like 700 in the US that are like diagnosed with it every year. So there's just no money in it. So there's a lot of like self-funding and family organizations that raise money in order to fund it. And first of all, I think that's a tragedy, but also I felt compelled to try to do something to change it. And it's the first time I've really approached something from a macro level, and not just like an individual therapeutic or systemic like way. Like even in the VA, it's like small groups or like entire departments. It's not like, okay, we need like legislation that like, changes a lot of this. So it's my first big picture foray.
All right. So I put the link to both the Facebook group and the Prep for Gold in the chat, so you can find them both on YouTube and the Facebook. Or if you're listening to this after the fact, you can go to the show page and see those links. So, Amy, you are correct that when you go and do a search for cancer, it's always about support, and it's always about people going through it, and whether it's websites or Facebook groups or even podcasts. I mean, there are, I almost want to say thousands of podcasts, but they're all talking about being in the thick of the battle and, kind of muddling through it. So you have now come across that. What has been your response from people in the group? I see, now, I'm a member of the group, so I do have to say that. And I've noticed a lot of posts, a lot of people giving resources and things like that. How have you seen the results from the group?
It's actually really picked up in the last like probably month or two, where I'll go on and see that way more people than me have been posting. At the beginning, it was like I was posting research articles and like newspaper stuff and I don't know, awareness stuff. And it was like Amy, somebody else, Amy. And now it's like I'll post something and like, 5 or 6 different people will post on the same day, which is nice. And then I'll see a lot of cross like talking about like subjects. And I think that's really cool. It's nice because it's not just families that are affected by cancer. It's other people that are coming.
Uh-oh, did we lose her?
And like getting their eye, because they make it sound like, it's almost impossible for your child to get cancer. And it's like 1 in 286 kids in the US get cancer. It's like not impossible at all. It's 16,000 kids a year. And it goes up by like 0.7% every year. So I think it's something like since 1974, it's increased 34%. So it's on the rise. Like, Prep for Gold, one of the big things is about prevention, which is kind of taboo in our community, because we all tell each other that like there's nothing we could have done. Because as moms, you're looking for, what did I do wrong? What could I have done to prevent this? How is this my fault? But I think the big picture is like what's going on in the environment and our society. And, I think it's affecting, I think the kids are the canary in the mine shaft. And as the cancer rates are going up, they're letting us know that we're not doing what we need to do as far as the environment goes.
Right. And there's a little taboo in the sense of nobody wants to acknowledge that early in a child's life that there's an issue. Everybody wants their kid to be normal and perfect. And, if you try to acknowledge and do preventative stuff, you're acknowledging that there's a problem. So you're right. The mind shift needs to happen there. So I want to take a quick moment and let everybody know the reason that we kind of rushed right into this with Amy is that Amy's only going to be with us for a few minutes. So I wanted to give her an opportunity to say everything she wanted to say out there before she had to go. And Elise is not being, hogtied with her mouth. She'll get plenty of time. But Amy, any other things that you want to say before you get out here?
I guess my parting words would be 9 months after my son was diagnosed with leukemia, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I'm coming up on the 1-year anniversary of that. So, ladies, do not skip your mammograms, even though there's COVID. And yes, you can get breast cancer even at 40 years old. So take care of your health. There's lots of people looking at you and needing you in this world. So don't put yourself last, because, if you don't have your health, you've got nothing.
All right. And let's ask before you go, how are both you and your son doing?
We're good. I have stable scans. So my hair is growing back all weird and curly, and it used to be long and blonde. And he
could be long again soon.
I don't. This is like weirdness. I don't know what's going on with it.
Mine grew back really thick.
Did it?
But now it's not.
Oh, girl, you are giving me hope, because like this crazy girl is bad. How far out are you?
They always say that because when you're going through cancer, your hair follicles like tighten, and that's why it's almost like if you think of the ribbon where you take it with a scissor, and curl it. It's think of that. That's exactly why that happens.
I'm ready to be done with it, but I feel. And then Landon, his type of leukemia is the longest treatment plan without there being a problem. So out of all childhood cancer, so he is a 3.5-year chemo regimen, and that's with things going perfectly. So we have 80 more weeks of daily chemo ahead of us. But he's doing well. He is holding his own at this moment. He's got some hair and energy about him, and he is a straight A student. So I couldn't ask for more.
Gosh.
All right. Well, very nice to hear. And you'll have to give us an update at some point and keep us informed as to how things are going. And ladies, this is National Women's Health Week. So I think it worked out just perfectly to have you two on and talk about this and be a part of that discussion. All right, Amy, any last words?
Nope. I just thank you guys for having me on, and maybe we can meet again sometime.
We will. Thank you for coming on. And we don't have a way to gracefully exit here, so I'm just going to boot you off stage. So thank you very much. All right, that was great.
I can't even imagine. I mean, I know how tough it is to go through chemo and everything by yourself, but to have your child sick at the same time, that's really tough. She's one strong woman. That's for sure.
We're gonna have to get more information. I've only, been speaking to her just under 2 weeks, so I don't know the full story. But yeah, it sounds like a lot. And then to do what she has done in growing a group that fast.
Yeah, for sure.
In what she said, 2 months. And then to be put to a board for Prep for Gold. She's got some ambition and some stuff there. Now, we never talked about all the other stuff you were doing, because we talked a lot about your journey during the cancer, but we didn't talk about life after cancer. So
Yeah.
what types of things are going on now?
I'm job hunting. So
What happened?
no. I lost my job due to COVID, actually back in August. And I always feel like sort of the higher position you have, the higher salary range you have, the longer it takes to find the right job. And so I've been applying. In the beginning, I really didn't apply that many places. I was just trying to figure out, like, what do I want to do next? And, it's kind of one of two things. One, I just want to work for a great brand, and I'm all about working for just having the right work culture. I think that's probably the most important thing for me. And certainly be in a position where I can continue to grow and learn in the company. Or, the other side of that is transitioning more so into healthcare, because I've been so involved, and I think even more so, I'm really passionate about it. So kind of one of those things. So if you need an amazing marketing PR person, hire me.
I was going to say, so you were in marketing, and you were obviously high up. You were senior director.
Yeah, so I worked for a smaller company, actually a family-owned company. I was their senior director of marketing, and I brought in a whole lot of new aspects. I love IT. I always feel like I get a little bit from my dad. My dad, when I was a baby, or really before I was born, my dad was an engineer at NASA. Like most kids we grew up with, a lot of them. Their parents worked for the space program. And my mom wrote this. I told you this before. She written a nationally syndicated cooking column and taught cooking classes. She went to FIT in New York City. So I feel like I have the creative piece and the IT financial numbers piece too. So.
All right. Maybe you can be marketing for an IT company. We need good marketing people in IT.
I always, every time I work on a new app or a new program, I think I always end up giving them like 20 ideas of how they can make it better. So.
But do they do it?
Huh?
Do they do it?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
But I will tell you, in my last job, I was able to figure out, they had a program for years and years and never could track the data. And I was able to figure out a way to track the data, which they had never done before. So with what they had existing, with the programs they had existing, I was able to track it. So good like that.
Okay, so we're going to go tangent here. So they were marketing, but couldn't track, like they couldn't track their leads. They couldn't track,
their restaurant
CPM
group.
Huh?
They were a restaurant group and had a pretty big list. They did a program called Summer Dine Around. And so they would send out these cards. You get $25 off if you spent, I want to say it was $100, I think, or even 75. I can't remember. But the program was really good. Actually, it wasn't even a dollar amount. That's why I can't remember it. It wasn't a dollar amount. It was actually, you had to, it was dinner for two in any of the restaurants, but you had to eat at the restaurant, and basically essentially order 2 entrees. So it's a successful program. And once they went to one restaurant, they would get a card to go to the next restaurant. So it's a big restaurant group, and they'd get a card to go to the next one. But once they use that first card, they couldn't track them in the second, third, fourth.
I see.
They're going to.
Okay.
And I was able to do it.
Interesting. So between the groups of restaurants, so was it like one owner in several restaurants, or was it a real true group where these were all different restaurants working together?
Family owned and operated, and they had 12 restaurants here in South Florida, and totally different concepts.
Interesting.
And really high end. So,
All right. That's why they could afford you.
and then that's why they couldn't afford me. Because
All right.
not many people are going to fine dining restaurants during COVID.
Yeah, that's got to be rough. So are you looking to kind of do the same thing, or, are you really seriously looking at something like IT or a different industry, or?
Yeah, I want to be out of the restaurant industry. I keep saying that, but I always end up somehow getting back in. I really don't want to. I just want a new challenge. And I feel like marketing is marketing, partnerships are partnerships. Different market segments are different market segments. So it's really more for me about the brand that I'm working for, and them wanting to always evolve and grow. I think that's one thing that's really important. And I've done B2B, I've done B2C, I've done all of that. So I don't know, I'm pretty open. And it's one of those things, like, I love to learn something new. And usually, like, if it's something to do with any kind of computer program or whatever is, like, in my last job, I had already set up one delivery, third-party delivery platform. And during COVID, I set up 4 of them. I negotiated all the contracts, and I basically made them all happen, putting on the website. I did another program that actually put in online ordering in their own website. And it's like, essentially at that point it was 10 different restaurants, but 10 different menus, 10 different, everything. So from start to finish, I executed it, taught the staff, went through, looked at financials. I mean, it's great because you can see so much. Personally, I love the data, because then you can figure out what you want to do next. So I'm totally nerdy like that. I love that stuff. And I actually negotiated, and I won't say the rate, but I know that I negotiated the best rate probably in the industry for a third-party delivery company, because these Uber Eats and all of them, they all charge a percentage,
Right,
total. And I got it down to very small number.
right. We are going to have to talk off air because, like I said, marketing is a big bugaboo in the tech industry. And I actually just finished in March. I did a complete month all focused on marketing. So I had 4 marketing companies in, and we talked about, everything in the tech world. And it was so good. We're actually going to do a second set of marketing shows later this year. And it's a weird thing, especially, IT is one of those low margin industries. So techs and companies don't want to spend a lot of money on marketing. They want to, do the least amount that they can, and it's always stuff like Google ads.
I think Giglio, I've been sort of freelancing, and I have a client. It's actually the court system of Georgia, and they are, they're trying to get people to do jury duty. Their theme is justice needs jurors, and they shot a 15-second video and a 30-second video, and so I placed those videos. I placed all their media buys for them, and I think the videos are the way to go, because I think people have short attention span. If you show ads are kind of boring these days.
Yeah.
But if you have something clever, or it's got to be aesthetically great looking, kind of ad, or even for like a tech company showing just a little smidge of what they have to offer, like what the results, if you use our IT company, this is what you can get out of it. I think, my light's falling. I think to me, that's the best way to be able to show your brand.
All right. And videos are taking off in the tech world. So that is a big thing. All right. So I want to do this. I want to shift gears and make sure that we do a couple of things. I didn't do announcements at the beginning because I wanted to get Amy in there. I do want to say, well, first of all, I got to say hello to people that have joined us in the chat. So John was with us from Melbourne. Becker has popped in, and Lori Hartplant. Lori, thank you so much for hopping on last week. Last week's show was the return of Wendy Hargrove Pierce. And Wendy was so nervous and not sure what to do. And I said, I'm going to sneak in a little surprise. And Lori was so gracious enough to come on and spend a few minutes and really surprise and make the journey easier for Wendy. So Lori, thank you for that. I also want to say thank you. I had a few people write to me, emails and messages. I had spoke about the fact that a couple of weeks ago, the neighbor across the street from us had committed suicide. And so that was one of the reasons I missed a show a couple of weeks ago, and the neighborhood was dealing with that. Come to find out, and these are things that, unless you talk as neighbors, you don't really know stuff. That's the second suicide that has happened in our neighborhood. The other one was a while back, but it literally was on basically the next block over. So we've had 2 suicides. There were some other things that happened that I won't mention, but it was just interesting watching the neighborhood come together and chat and talk. And, you know, at least for now, the neighborhood is a little bit more friendly. People are waving, people walking and talking, and we're going to try to find a way to keep it going. So that was it. So I did want to say thank you to those of you that reached out and gave me thoughts and prayers on that. Got a lot of information on the Lowe family. I mentioned that I had spoke to Andy Lowe a couple of weeks ago, and I have not yet reached out to Big Ed and David, but what?
I was going to say, I love Ed Lowe. I love Andy. I love David, but especially Mr. Lowe. He's awesome. And he and I every so often will message each other on Facebook, and he's always giving me good advice about my boys and stuff like that. And he's just same guy, better. You know, we're older now, so I'm like, I can't get in trouble, even though I was not a troublemaker at all. But
you can say that, I can't.
But I'd love to see that.
Yep. So might be having them on at some point, or at least giving updates, and I will be getting more updates from other people. I think it's great. Elise, are you going to be joining us for the reunion this summer?
I am. I will be there. Yeah.
Okay. So satellite people, that reunion is happening July 16th through the 18th. I understand the hotels are sold out, so if you've not reserved your spot at the hotel, you're going to have to find someplace else to bunk up, find a friend in the area or a hotel down the road. But Friday night is going to be a combined night for the years of 84, 85, and 86.
By the way, that's the whole weekend. So, you know.
They have upgraded to the whole weekend?
The whole weekend, but any class can come that Friday night.
You guys are gravy training on my year.
Well, your year was last year, really, technically.
Okay, but last year didn't happen, so.
No, they added I think it's, to me, is the greatest. I loved 84, I loved 85, and I love my year. So I think it'd be so fun, and I think everyone should go. I mean, there's a lot of people like on the fence about it, and I'm like, everyone needs to go now, because like, you know, if we wait another 5 or 10 years, we're all really going to be old.
Yep. Go now while you still can and look good.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun.
I think it'll be so fun. This is So,
all right.
And if you don't know anyone, or if you know people that are not on Facebook that need information, I'm going to make a one-sheeter on it. So you can download it from the website, probably. So not the website, the Facebook page.
Well, we need to talk about that too, because some people don't want to get on the Facebook, and I did a post on my website, but I don't have anything downloadable. So we need to do something. There are people that need to get information that aren't on Facebook. So
Yeah.
those of you committee members can help with that. We would appreciate it. And one other thing I put down here, I wanted to ask you two things. One, the last time we spoke, you were doing the promotion with Kendra Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Did that do well? Did you get an update? Were there announcements to make about that?
We did raise money from it. It wasn't hugely successful, but they found there were some glitches in the code.
Okay.
So I got this though. Isn't that pretty? You see it? Wait.
Hang on, let me. Okay, looks like a heart.
Right. Yep.
Yep, there we go. What is it? What does it say? It's
just a heart.
Is that a butterfly?
No, it's just a heart.
A heart in the heart.
Yeah, it's just basically. I can't hold this up right because I can't do this like. Okay.
Yep. So a heart.
See, I don't know which fingers I'm using here.
With a little bling in there, it looks like.
Yeah.
All right.
Love kind of Scott stuff. I got this for Mother's Day. Love
okay. I don't even know what to say. Is that a bangle?
It's like
three tennis bracelets.
3 little bracelets, like little things in them. I don't know. Kendra Scott is such a great brand. I don't know. They always give back, which I like, and their prices are reasonable. So
they had like 100 different promotions on that site. When I was going through looking at the backside and trying to figure out, I mean, they had tons of stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know how
they have great stuff. I mean, they have like really great box, and you don't have to gift wrap.
Wonder how they made money, but good for them. The other question I wanted to ask you, and I went back and looked at the notes on our previous show, and folks, if you did not hear that show and the full story, you want to go to show 30, or if you go to unclemarv.com/30, that'll take you to the page. Just go to unclemarv.com and search for Elise. There was a book that you had mentioned that I said I would put a link to the show, but I didn't. And I want to make sure, is it Louis Giglio, The Comeback?
Oh, yeah.
It's not too late and you're never too far.
Yeah. I believe if you go to, hang on, I'm going to look really quick for you.
Well, I've got it here on the Facebook.
Okay. I think if you go to Passion City Church, on there, you can always buy that book. He actually just came out with another book, I believe, today. So,
yep, The Comeback.
The book. Yep.
Okay.
That is the book. And I'm chapter 12, but it's a great book because, I mean, I think everyone, no matter what, my trials and tribulations are different from anyone else's, but they're still just as, just have so much depth and gravity to them. And, I remember when I was going through cancer, some people would say, yeah, but I just have X cancer. And I'm like, it's all relative. I mean, because we're all dealing with our, each battle, whether it's cancer or anything else. And, I think the pandemic has definitely been really hard on so many people. I mean, I think it's been hard on everyone. And I don't think there's a person out there that can't say it didn't affect them. And, I mean, I will tell you personally, I'm actually, I've started going to a therapist because I think the pandemic has just changed so many things. I've been through tough times, but we were talking about this is the longest I've ever not had, been working for someone. I've freelanced before and things like that, but I'm that type of person. I really like working more so with a team or just with people,
Right.
And I think it's it's been hard. I mean, when you're working freelance, you're working typically with your client, but the time is sort of minimal. If you figure out the plan that you're going to do with the client, sometimes you're talking to them a lot, sometimes you're not. And for me, that's been hard.
Yeah.
So,
it's a weird thing where a lot of people who did not get directly affected, they didn't know somebody with COVID or, have to deal with their own stuff, being stuck, I guess is the best word. There were times. So I did a thing a while back where I was trying to think about, times in history that, we've gone through this, because people try to talk about the plague and stuff like that. But, you have to think about things that are disruptive in our lives, things like World War, 1 and 2, where you're dealing with 4 years of disruption, where this is kind of what we're dealing with, except we can't always see what's happening, but we're all affected by it. And it's a little different in the mental game, because I think there's a lot of people that have, even us as old as we are, there hasn't really been much that we've had to deal with for any stretch of time.
Right.
And we're now going on a year and 3 months in some cases, where, not being able to see people.
I think that was especially hard. And it's like I sort of had a group of friends that acted like the pandemic wasn't happening, and I would tell them, like, I have to be careful, because I feel my immune system's working pretty well, but I have no idea, really. I don't think anyone really, like, those that got very, very sick, or those people that lost their lives, or, those that weren't affected at all. I think no one really has any idea how COVID was going to affect them. And, for me, there was a lot of fear around it. It's like, I beat pancreatic cancer. I'm sure not dying from COVID. I just was like, I'm not going to be, and we really didn't see a lot of our friends. And, I would tell you that a group of our friends, like, we're not nearly as close to them anymore. And that part is sad. And I think with that, and then like the craziness of the politics, and how I just think you should never, ever choose politics over your friends, over people that you've known your whole life. I saw people getting, like, I would just put a question out there, and I would try to, because I hate negativity. And so I try to put something out there on my Facebook page saying, like, what do you think about this? And I try to be completely bipartisan. And then no matter what, people were fighting on my Facebook page. And then I remember one time I called my college roommate's husband a complete idiot. And then I was like, I took it down and I apologized to him. And I was like, it was just awful to me, putting, like, just to have that negativity out there. And, at the end of the day, I know when I went through cancer, all my friends, like all my satellite high school friends, my friends here in Atlanta, people rallied around me, and that's way more important than any political thought, figure, whatever. So I just think, like, people choosing a politician they've never met, or any of that, and just, I see some people just consistently putting out negative things about politics. It's just not, I think it's not good for anyone.
It is tough, which is why I try not to talk about those things. Although I will say this, just because I don't talk about them doesn't mean I don't have an opinion about them. And I found in some cases, and this is the only one that I will speak to, that I realized that I was part of the problem in having my friends and people that I knew and associated with who did not understand the George Floyd situation, and me not telling the stories that I went through and that I go through still, and not to say that it's over. I mean, there are still times where I will be stopped or looked at in a certain way, and a lot of my friends who have known me for years are like, well, I never thought of you that way, or I never realized that happened. And you know what, that's my fault for not bringing it up. And not to say that I'm going to climb to the rooftops and tell people what they need to do about it, but having discussions with people to explain, this is the world we live in. And in a situation like this, where I've never asked for anything more than anybody else. I've asked for the same opportunities and the same chances.
Yeah.
And that should not take away, my having the right to be equal doesn't take away your right to be equal.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to die to prove that. And I think that's where the struggle is. So you're right, politics and, even churches, I know that your church is a nice church though. I think I could hang out there.
It's pretty cool. I mean, but like any church, it's had its share of scrutiny and such. And, but I know the pastor very well, and I know the pastor's wife, and I know their hearts, and I know they're really good people, and that's the thing is, like, I do think that people make mistakes in their life and grow from them. My kids are teenagers, and their school, I mean, they're by far the minority in their school. It's mostly African Americans and Latinos, and then, a small pocket of some white kids. And we had a lot of great conversations, actually, when everything happened with George Floyd. And I mean, one of my sons, I swear, felt like he had the world on his shoulders, and, just wanted to fix everything. And, he gets super worked up about it. And I love that. I mean, because my kids, I mean, I feel like they have so many friends that do not look like them, who I feel like my own kids. And, and that vision of, like, those kids being scrutinized or, profiled or anything is just horrifying to me, because at the end of the day, they're my kids too. And I mean, that, and a lot of people don't see that. I mean, especially where you may live, or, I mean, we see it here. And, I think everyone just needs to do their part, and I think everyone needs to educate themselves. There's actually a really good book out there called Be the Bridge. And a woman actually from Atlanta wrote this book. And I've been listening to the audiobook, and sometimes it's really hard to listen to. It is some seriously, like, very sad stories. Like, I got to the point where I'm like, I can't listen to this in my car, because I can't drive and listen to this, because I was such a mess, like, listening to it. But the thing about it is being the bridge of being able to do these women's groups of Black and white women together. And I'm hoping to start one of those in our community, sometime this year. So, but I just think everyone should educate themselves, because if anything that they don't understand, like, I can't understand this, you know what? It's your job to educate yourself. So that's how I feel.
I was going to ask you a question, but now I'm worried about asking it. But let me ask this one instead.
Okay.
So you said that your son, felt some weight on his shoulder and would get, really worked up and stuff. And I know that I've talked to some people who are the same way. And these are adults, 40, 50-year-olds, that the expectation that now that some things have come to light, they're thinking, why can't we just fix this now? And it's a hard conversation to have because we're looking at one situation in time.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, a long running situation, some systemic stuff in place and things of that nature. But what was the conversation that you had with him in explaining that, keep the passion, keep working at it, but understand that it might not, change as fast as we want?
So I gave him what I told him, and I took it from Stephen Covey. There is, circle of influence and circle of concern. So circle of concern is all racism, all systemic racism, could be anything. It could be politics. It could be things that at the end of the day, one person really cannot fix. But circle of influence being that your actions, your conversations with your close friends, your family, people that are in your circle, having more of those conversations, and being open and honest about them. Because I know there are people that feel completely like there is no systemic racism. And I think that's just, it's about knowledge and how you see things and how you're brought up and all those things. But I'm very much like, you keep talking about it, but you do what you can do to make a difference. So that's kind of how I approached it, because I felt like he was never going to get anywhere if he, had this just the weight of the world on his shoulders. And I felt so bad. He was, so upset, because think about it. It's all his friends. And, there were so many things. And I think it's never okay to be hateful to any group. Even if you don't agree with another group, I just think, like, if you give out hate, guess what? You're going to get back hate. And I think, stopping to listen and to do your part to make things better, and not just be like the bull with the horns, like, I hate this, I hate that, because that's never going to get you anywhere.
Right. So the concept that you mentioned, the circle of concern, circle of influence, sometimes people say the circle of control. Those were first introduced in Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
I know that he's done much more in-depth stuff on that, so I will look for that. I'm not going to do it now and take attention away.
Yeah.
But, you're right. These are concepts that, they're not new.
Right.
But, having people focus on, the wife and I get into these conversations a lot where, there's certain situations that I don't want to say that she gets worked up about and all of that, but there are times where I just look at her and say, like, okay, does that directly affect us? And can we do anything about it?
Yeah.
Because my position is I will act on things that I can control.
Right.
So that's what I do. So I can't get, too overwhelmed with things that are out of my control.
Right.
And I think, a lot of people need to look at that. Yes. Should we be outraged at stuff? Yes. Should we have concern? Yes. Should we talk about it? Yes. And we will do that. And speaking of, and I never knew how I was going to segue into this, but I had a meeting last week with somebody. And so last year I had a couple of Zoom meetings, and we didn't know what else to call them except, the race talks.
Yeah.
Where we got people together on Zoom, and it wasn't recorded. It wasn't anything like this. And it was a time for us to give people the ability to talk, ask questions, and try to figure out what can we each do in this situation. We only ended up having 3 of those meetings. And basically, I just got to the point where like, I can't do this.
It's tough to have those conversations.
Well, it was tough for me because half the time I felt like I was defending myself, but then I was also defending other people for stuff. And I was like, I can't do that, because there are a lot of times where I can, people would get upset and be like, well, the police can't do this. Whereas I'm like, okay, why don't we try to at least understand why? Because we don't know what was in that policeman's mind, 30 minutes before, where they may have been in another situation. But needless to say, I had to stop. So we are going to start those back up. And I haven't announced when I think we did pick a date. I think it's going to be sometime in the next 3 weeks. I will put more up. So if people are listening, watching, and want to be involved in those talks, again, they are not a part of the podcast. They are not a Facebook Live or on YouTube or anything. This is just a private Zoom. And it is, a time to be real, ask the questions, talk about concerns, and come up with an action plan that works for us individually. What are the things that we can do ourselves to, educate ourselves and to be better about it?
Yeah, I think everyone just needs to be better, I mean,
and I want to put this up, Elise. Dave Becker echoed your words. His daughter reacted the same way. They told her the same thing. So,
hi, Dave Becker.
Dave Becker. So, all right. Well, that certainly wasn't on the agenda tonight.
I know, but I think it's good. I think those conversations are so good to have. I feel like, I don't know. I don't, I don't remember the political climate being so ugly. And, even, I would say from both sides, no matter what side you're on, it just doesn't matter. It's like, at the end of the day, we can't forget we're all Americans. And I do think, I don't think people are so far one way or so far the other. I feel like I personally don't identify with either. And I think it's situation to situation. I was trying to dumb it down and say, okay, so if I needed help, I know that my neighbors would help me. If I needed whatever, that's the thing is we're not robots. And I think everyone is, has empathy and wants to be better and wants to be a good person. So I think everyone just sometimes just needs to do that every day.
Yeah. Well, something that's happening in our neighborhood is, be the neighbor you would want to have living next to you.
Yeah.
Is as simple as it is. If you want people to treat you that way, and it's, it's what the golden freaking rule, right? Do unto others as, you would have them do unto you. It's simple. So.
Yeah. This, I'm so sorry that that happened in your neighborhood, and I'm sure it just jilted everyone. But I think, I would say there's probably a lot of people out there dealing with a lot of mental anguish this year. In my therapy sessions, I'm not there, but my therapy sessions, we were talking about how a huge part of my identity has always been work. And when you don't have that consistent work and, not working for a company, to me, that's been really hard because that's who I am. If anyone knows me, I'm like, and I used to do this, I used to, had a big team, worked for Hard Rock for a long time. And, I always at night, I would just kind of get myself caught up and I would just get in this get everything done at night. And luckily I had home office. So I'd come down to my office and, I was going to turn out the lights of my office, but really I was just let me just check some emails. And then 4:00 in the morning rolls around. I'm like, oh, I'm still emailing people. And then people would say, I remember a colleague said to me, do you expect me to respond at 4? And I was like, no, I just was on a roll and I was getting everything done.
Right.
So then I started learning, we'll go out in the morning, like I would schedule my emails out. So I was just horrified that they thought that I expected a response at 4 in the morning. So, but that to me has been really hard, not working. But I feel like once I get in there, I can't wait.
All right. And you're out on the interview trail now, right? You said just started throwing some stuff out there.
Yeah. I will tell you, the experience has not been grand.
What, putting interviews out or resumes and all that stuff?
Resumes. And then I feel like HR departments are either completely bogged down or
it is a weird time because so what was it last week that the unemployment numbers plummeted, but yet it still feels like so many people are out of work and companies are,
seems like everyone's hiring, but
yeah,
I almost feel like, and I will write very personalized cover letters. So I think, God, why wouldn't they hire me after reading that? And even I've had people refer me in different jobs, but I think, I don't know. I think I think they need better IT solutions, probably because they get so many resumes. And, it used to be that you never wanted your resume to completely mimic the job description. Like you use different words. You didn't want to use those exact words ever, right? But now all their algorithms, you got to use those words.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous. And
you're right. What is it? Not God, Career Builder is what's stuck in my head, but Indeed and all those jobs. Yeah, you're right. They are programmed. It's just like the Facebook. They program this algorithm as to which posts are going to get seen, as opposed to just let it happen organically. But you're right. And I remember when I was looking for texts, and I would look for the ones that didn't use the buzzwords.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, don't feed me what I already, what you think I want to hear.
Yeah.
Tell me what you really are about. Tell me your real experience and what you're good at.
I think they should say they have 20 candidates, which I know they all have more, but say they have 20 good candidates and they have a normal meeting that they would have where people would, give ideas or whatever it is, that you can see them in action. I would hands down get the job.
Well, let me ask this, because didn't you at one time do your own deal?
What do you mean?
Didn't you do your own marketing company or something like that a while back?
I have. Essentially that's what I'm doing now, but
okay.
Tedeschi Media Marketing. But I want to work with other people. And so
get big and hire.
I don't know if I'm so chicken about that. I don't know. I just like having someone else, be the shining guide, and then I'll make it happen.
All right. We got to talk off air. Definitely.
Or, that's the other thing. I feel like I'm much better, if I had a partner or something like that.
All right.
You keep me on
task.
Not even on task.
Tell you to go to bed.
Huh?
Tell you to go to bed.
No, yeah, really. Yeah, really. Stop working. No, just to collaborate with. I feel like I'm always so much better. I remember when I worked for Hard Rock, we would go down I go to Orlando annually, and we have these huge brand meetings. And at the end, I mean, the days were super exhausting, so fun. And we would talk about different branding opportunities for the year and come up with ideas. And I would seriously come in with like 1,000 ideas. Like I would just sit there, even listening to a speaker or something, I would write down like 100 ideas. And always at the end of the day, I'd be like, I'm done. I'm out of ideas. And then the next day I'd come back and be like, okay, I got 1,000 ideas again. So, and I did a lot of things, I mean, that I'm really, really proud of, that things that were my ideas that came to fruition that became a really big piece of our marketing plan for the year. So,
all right. So are you like the creator part of the equation, or are you the implementer part of the equation?
I've always been sort of both.
Okay.
And then I'm the person afterwards, like doing all the analytics, because I love that part too. But because I always had to do reports, and the reports would always have to be like, okay, what's your ROI on everything? And so, we did this, there was a burger month, and at Hard Rock, no one had ever owned it. And I'm like, we need to own that month. That should be our month. And, there were things that came to fruition with the promotion, and then things that I was bummed that didn't, like we need to add this element or that element to make it even more exciting. And I think sometimes things didn't move as fast as I wanted them to. I remember, I want to say it was like Rob Lowe's 50th birthday party or something. And it was a couple months before, and I'm like, they all became the Brat Pack at the Hard Rock in LA. And so I thought, how cool would that be to do his 50th birthday party back at the Hard Rock for, the Brat Pack.
Right.
And it never happened.
Oh.
But I did get to do, you remember, that show, Orange County Choppers, with the Discovery Channel?
Oh, I know the show. I just don't watch it.
I don't know if it's still on, but
I don't think that particular show is, but there's another Chopper show on.
Yeah.
Didn't that guy die or something? Didn't something happen with that guy?
I don't know.
The mustache guy?
Well, there was like senior and junior.
Right.
I actually have senior's number on my phone.
Really?
Let me call and see if he's alive or not.
Can we call him?
Wasn't it Paul Tuttle? Paul something like that. I don't know.
That sounds right. I didn't.
Anyways, so I got a budget, and they made a Hard Rock anniversary bike. It was Hard Rock's 40th anniversary. They made this super cool bike. They were like top of the ratings when the show actually aired. And this is a crazy thing, because I had to go to our CEO and basically say, okay, so in the contract, it does say that they cannot guarantee that we'll make the show, but there's never been anyone they've done a custom bike for that has not been on the show. I think that's a good
sign.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's a chance we got to take. And so it was big money, and they gave me the yes, and I got to sign the contract. And then we had actually, we did replicas of the bike in a pin, and proceeds from that went to the Wounded Warriors Project. So I always try to add some kind of philanthropic piece to it, but that was awesome.
So were you with the Hard Rock when the Seminole Casinos got involved with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they just taking over the Hard Rock?
Yeah, they actually, the Seminole Tribe of Florida actually owns Hard Rock International, and they own all the rights to basically now the globe.
Okay.
So, and I think honestly, the Seminole Tribe of Florida, those people are the ones that I had met were awesome. But leadership at Hard Rock has changed. But it didn't change for a long time, though. We had a CEO Hamish Dodds, who was just amazing, that really cared about people, that just really cared about all kinds of philanthropic things that we were doing. I mean, the always question was, if we were doing a marketing, some kind of promotion or something, the next question would always be, who's your philanthropic partner? So, at that time, it was just like, it was a great time to be with Hard Rock. So it's changed now, and I really can't kind of talk to it because I don't know. I mean, there's so many people that work for the company for so long, and now a lot of people don't. So,
yeah, I figured. I just wanted to know if you were there when that was kind of taking place and transitioning, I guess is the right word for it.
Yeah, well, honestly, it didn't even feel like much of a huge transition at that point. Not at all. Because they had already gotten the rights to do 2 hotels, Tampa and Fort Lauderdale or Hollywood.
Hollywood, yep.
Yeah. So they'd already gotten the rights to that, and then realized, like, they were paying into the brand so much because the casinos were doing unbelievable. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this one down here is huge.
Yeah.
Got the big old guitar scene for miles and miles.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and start to end off the show, and then you and I can keep chatting. We won't do a post show this time, but for people that are still watching, thank you for doing so. And let me see. I was trying to see. I had a whole list of announcements I wanted to get off earlier, but we got off track. So as I mentioned earlier, thank you to Wendy and Lori for last week. Next week, I have a tentative guest that I can't announce because it's not confirmed. I may just have to do an open show, so that might be a time. If you have any questions, I can do a little Ask Me Anything comment. And if you ask me a question, I'll answer it. But I will say this. If you don't think you can handle the answer, don't ask the question. If that makes any sense. And then coming up on, let's see, I think it's the last Monday of this month, Dr. Phillip Rothschild, a good friend of ours from Palm Beach Atlantic University, will be on the show. That should be a fantastic show as well. And then we'll have some other things coming up in June. So I want to remind everybody to go to the site and check out the links that I put on for the guest that was with us at the beginning of the show, Amy Sapien. Check out her Facebook group, Childhood Cancer Advocates, and her new venture that she is on the board of Prep for Gold. So that website link will be there as well. And then I'm going to be putting in the link to the book that we forgot to put in last time that Elise is in, The Comeback by Lou Giglio. She is chapter 12.
Louis Giglio.
Giglio?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has actually said to me or the congregation about, like, Louis. Some people call it Louis. Like, I want
Louis.
He's like Louis Giglio, and it was like a national news thing.
Wow.
I thought that was pretty funny.
But
he's awesome. Right. He's actually very good friends with the astronaut Sean. Is it Sean? Shane. That's up in space.
Oh, all right. All right, folks. Thank you very much for being with the show. Until next week, holla.